The drink, we're clicking to the environment. We're clicking to the environment. We're drinking to the environment. Yes.
And we are back. My camera is facing down a little bit, but it's cool. So we are back on the drink sustainability with great brews and
nice
hydration on the other end.
Hydration is good.
Hey, sometimes you gotta hydrate to dehydrate, if you know what I mean.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. I hear you.
So we're gonna dive deep. Well, not dive deep, but dive into our last, but not least, question of the show, which is for you, Mr. Will Heyniger. Are you ready?
I am ready
For the epic, dramatic, awesome question of the podcast.
Yes.
Ding.
Ding.
All right. Will, since we've been talking about sustainability this whole entire show, I mean, it's kind of in the title anyway, but what does sustainability mean to you?
It's a really kind of multi-pronged, but I guess it's the act of wisely using the resources you have to maintain a perpetual machine, in a sense. Having resources that are available for future generations, and how to use the resources now. So it's a bit of a long-winded explanation, but how do you reuse materials? Sustain by its definition is to keep something moving in any direction. We related to humanity about, the human species being able to live on this earth, and sustainability being the crux of reusing materials, or wisely using materials you have, whether it's minimal waste or repurposing and reusing, versus a linear once and done use. So the famous comparison is sustainability is a circle where it keeps reusing even the waste materials, versus a linear where it's get it once, use it, and then dispose of it. So sustainability is really the circle of anything you want to put as letter X. How do you reuse it to the fullest capability, and then find a rejuvenation of that material? So sustainability is being able to reuse materials over and over and over again. No matter how you've altered the initial material, how can you reuse it back to that material? And so we're really not there yet, or even close to it, actually, but we're making strides. So we have to get from this linear model of where it's a one-time use into a reuse. And the earth is the perfect model for that. There's no waste. What we deem as waste is not waste in the natural perspective. We just define what we think is waste. A waste, a colleague told me one time, and he got it from somewhere else, is only something that's wasted. So in terms of any material.
Oh my God, I have a list of that.
Sustainable, how do you reuse that and repurpose it to keep the circle going? Okay, and that's the real definition. And how do we get there as a country and a planet, especially, is quite a feat in and of itself. There's some people doing really good things. There's things we could be doing a lot better. And there's things where we don't even know what to do with yet. And, even in the best endeavors, like wind turbines, those big wind turbines, well, it's coming to revelations that the old turbine blades are just being landfilled. And so we have to decide where, can we use them, and where do we get a market? So we need a paradigm shift in our mentality. If we build something, instead of just building it for the now, what's its
future role?
Future role in reuse? How are we going to deal with the waste of a product?
Right.
And we're not doing that. And it's kind of a corporate responsibility. It's a civilization responsibility. It's a civilian responsibility. But nature's those turbine blades will break down, but it'll be thousands of years. Are there better uses? Do we have to levy a tax on companies to retake their products? Coke recently announced it's going to, because of pressures, societal pressures and consumer pressures especially, about reusing plastic and getting into that. So how do we hold them culpable, okay, for products? Can we ship something back so that the companies deal with it because we put them to task? You were going to say.
Can you just repeat that first part you said? Okay, so when you were like, from pressures, Coca-Cola was revamping.
They're finally integrating
pressures from.
Go on.
Oh, consumers. I don't want to buy your product because you're not doing green stuff. Or people have gotten groups together and said, look, Coke, you got to start using, we like your products, but we're going to not use them anymore because you're not owning up to your waste generation. Okay,
so you're saying we're holding them accountable, as in
exactly accountability.
We're coming together as a society to hold people accountable. So
companies accountable, especially because their job is to make money you selling their product. But maybe that's shifting to like, well, your product's great, but what about your ownership of the materials that you use?
Right.
And that goes back to our earlier segments of being, responsible by driving forces. And how do we get companies to close their own loops? Okay? You stop buying Coke products because you don't believe they're recycling enough. Coke's going to change their tune, which they are.
I love it.
Restaurants should own their waste to a certain degree. It's not their job, but if enough pressure is exerted, I'm sure, consumers can push it because if they stop going to that company goes away. And it's as simple as that. And that's where it comes down to dollars. So sustainability and economics is very interwoven. Some green-minded groups don't sell it as well as economics. So I would say all sustainability majors and people interested in sustainability should take a business class and get exposed about what's some of the business terms and how do people view that. ESG, environmental social governance of companies, is becoming very mainstream. It's getting much more play for the fact that people are demanding companies to own up to their waste. And it goes back to all those fundamentals of the individual having power. That's sustainability, is people having how we define economic, social responsibility, philosophical ownership, and what do we use with that power? How do we do it? And the people that can have a voice should be expressing their voice to help the persons or groups that don't have much of a voice because of whatever situation they're in or level that they're at. And so it really can be done. It's just a matter of how much do we want to get it. It's almost an extension of citizen activity in governance in the local community. If people want change and enough people get it going, people in positions that can make those decisions listen or they get voted out. It's as simple as that. Okay, do you want to vote these companies out that aren't sustainable? How do you do it? You stop buying their products. Because the companies either adapt or they die. And you know that just as well. If that, wherever you bought that from, if they make a skunky flavor, that's not going to sell. So people don't buy it. Okay, and it's as simple as that. And it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It doesn't need that extra layer of complications. Okay, Texas leads the country in wind power generation. Texas that you know of is how does it usually vote? Texas, blue or red?
I'm pretty sure red.
Very red, but it leads the nation in wind power, kilowatt installation and generation because they sold it as economics, not as environmental. Once you told these ranchers, hey, I'll pay you to put a wind turbine up and you'll make some money, that component that state
That's a
listening.
no-brainer when someone puts it that way. So I mean,
Yeah, but it's a big brainer if you went to Texas and said, well, I want you to be green by putting in wind turbines. They would have pulled their shotguns out and shot you like yesterday. But if you go to Texas and say, hey, look, I got this wind turbine thing. I know how you think about green. I get it. But if you can make some extra income as a rancher or a farmer, and then it's the green, you got to know your audience. And green doesn't always do that for sustainability. They just see, they do not see it that way.
Yeah,
not to be as effective as they want. AOC's plan is off the charts. Her Green New Deal, or her and the squad have come up with it. And listen, I'm as green as they come, but I know if you don't sell it right, that's going to go nowhere.
Yep.
That's where you have to work with the other side of the aisle, quote unquote, to pull people together and say, look, we're not going to push on you that it's green. We're going to push that it's American jobs, American income, and yes, we get a green benefit out of that. But instead, we ramrod it as environmentalists. Like, you must do good for the environment. Good for very, very infrequently, too infrequently even, is it sold as an economic versus an environmental. If AOC came out and started touting her deal as jobs, 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 and did nothing but that, more people would listen. Way more people would listen. So sustainability can be done, and it's a great endeavor, and it's going to be our saving grace. It has to be, or we're going to die. We'll cease to exist as a species. And that's the cold, hard truth. And then you can pull the heartstrings, like grandparents and their grandkids, the older generation that says, I don't give a fuck. I just want mine. I got to get mine and get out. Okay. Or if there's economically challenged, you can't go now you got to shop at Whole Foods. Because what's the comedic response about Whole Foods? When I was a kid, Whole Foods equaled whole paycheck. And some people can't afford to shop there. So Whole Foods has to market itself to having several products that are affordable without you blowing your whole paycheck, but still doing good for the environment. I have seen soap for $6 a bar of each bar in Whole Foods. And even I said, okay, there's an economic line I have to draw, and it's great endeavor.
It was soap bars for $6?
Yes, a single bar of soap. And it was clean, organic, all this great stuff. But even I had said, as a white middle-aged male that has income, okay, and I'm just using me as an example, I even said, whoa, that's kind of heavy for a bar of soap. Like, what do I really need out of this store that I can afford?
Right. Yeah, that's a little overkill.
Yeah, but we need people that have the resources to go in and support it as a sustainable initiator. Right. And then as the mass goes up, hopefully they'll lose their core roots and core foundation of then being able to be affordable to different socio and economic statuses and levels. Maybe we need a Whole Foods knockoff or a side unit that could go into urban areas and make it affordable so that people have access to healthy food, but they're not paying Whole Food prices. That's a challenge. Maybe it's these Aldis and Lindals that are popping up that have worked on their business model to provide decent food. And I haven't been in there recently. It's been a while, actually.
They're pretty good. I was in there recently.
Okay, so maybe they have to change.
Yeah, the prices are definitely reasonable.
But there's a compromise because there's less service. You got to bring your own box and stuff like that. But maybe that's the way to get it to people so they can afford it. I don't have the answers. I just know me.
Yeah, but if you, when you're going shopping, I mean, this is extending the time, but it's all right. So, when you're going to, the nearest shopping center for yourself, it's not even hard to do. It's just more of a cognitive behavior in a sense. It's really not, you don't have to exert so much energy for it at all, really at all. It's just, I have at least 4 or 5 reusable shopping bags that I use, and I literally bag my own stuff anyway. And also, I'm paying for it. It's more. It's the company that I'm, or the store that I'm buying from. They don't have to use as many bags, and talking to someone about, and it's actually a good conversation starter because I've met a few cashiers that, you know, ring me up and all that stuff, and they seriously say, they're like, wow, I really have to get reusable shopping bags myself. I'm like, yeah, dude, it's definitely a good game changer for me, to be honest with you, because no joke, I still have a whole bag, like a reusable bag filled with plastic bags under my sink, and I just use that for, like, you know, me and my girlfriend's bike, like, you know, tying plastic bags over it to, you know, for rain and stuff. Or I, you know, use it for the gym when I go to swim. I put my bathing suit in there so nothing else gets wet, whatever. Like, I use it for many other things.
And you go reuse it so it gets more uses per use. That's also key. Exactly. But we also have to realize, okay, if you're, you know, that's, you know, and we have to change stores. So if we go to ShopRite or X store, I want to use ShopRite to be specific, but we go to the manager and say, look, get more reusable bags out there. Let's do this. Maybe you're a part of more people that are asking for that. And so,
yeah, you don't know. You know, you could be like, crap, I'm like probably the first one that's doing this, but in reality, there's probably been like, I don't know, 200 people that have asked the same question. You don't even know.
Right.
There's probably a neighborhood, and there's probably a freaking neighborhood, like, freaking Facebook group saying, like, yo, like, you know, join our group, whatever. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm actually not the only one. And that also applies to other social issues that we won't go into. But that,
of course,
that applies to literally everything. And that's also umbrellas under sustainability, which, you know, well, that's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother time. But my point. That's what I'm saying. So
yeah, and sustainability can come in many different shapes and sizes and forms. You just have to find yours where you make an impact.
Hell yeah. And I love how we just spent like 15 minutes on that whole thing, on that whole question, because I have a second question which you kind of already answered in a weird way, but just on this question, just be a little bit more brief and concise, because we are about to wrap up. So, like in the Will Heyniger life, what do you do to become a more sustainable individual? Like I said, you've like kind of already like answered it a little bit, but
sure.
Go a little bit.
I try and practice pause. And by that I mean, I try and look at a situation and say, well, how can I inject any form or what form, excuse me, of sustainability? How could sustainability be employed in this thing I'm doing? Do I mean I stop for a second and say, oh, let me grab my reusable bag? Or when I'm at the counter, if I got 2 items, I don't really need a bag. And I use that as an example, but I practice pause.
So what does pause stand for anything?
I stop for a second, I pause and say, okay, if I'm going to do this PAUSE, I pause for a moment and say, where can I impact and initiate sustainability in this action? Whether it's saving screws from another project to collect to use somewhere else, or buying tape to tape up my ductwork to capture some more heat in my heating system. So where can I employ big things, medium-sized things, and small things, and how does that get me to my goal of sustainability? Pause is a great factor.
Okay, so all right, because at first I thought you meant like PAWS.
No, not like
the
cat
dog.
pause.
Yeah. Okay.
Pause and reflect and think.
Right. Okay.
Where can I initiate sustainability? What form can it take in this example? Maybe it's not the biggest applicable thing, but like I said, maybe I could use this thing for somewhere else, or maybe I could, it could lead to a hoarding life if I save this piece for somewhere else. Do I need to be that extreme? But pause, stop. Where can I do to initiate sustainability at this moment, at this juncture? Pause. PAUSE. Stop and think.
That actually just reminds me of what I actually did today, which was I paused for a second because I'm very self-fund conscious, meaning my own funds, my own bank account.
Sure.
And because I was about to, get some lunch because I pretty much ate mine before that. And I was like, do I really need this? I'm actually not that hungry. I'm really not at all, actually. I'm actually kind of full. And that actually saved me a few bucks in my bank account. However, I did get a drink because I was craving a drink because I didn't have any with me. So, gotta stay hydrated. But I could have, I could have spent $10 or $15, but in all actuality, I just spent I think $2, $3. So that like we said before, sustainability is economically, environmentally, and socially, which that just in part just helps me economically. So, but it could, long term, like you said, it could help you in all three ways.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. So
I agree.
wow. So the pause method, huh? All right. I like it.
Yep. It's a good thing to just slow down and observe. That's a great tool.
No, I love it. I love it.
Good.
All right, man. Well, that comes to the closing of this whole episode. So
Cool. It's been a great time. I want to thank you for having me, Ted. It's
Oh my
been
God.
a great opportunity. I hope your listeners enjoy it. And just find a way to make a change in their lives.
Well, that's what I'm hoping this podcast will do, is just help one person make
Yep.
themselves better. That's all.
Yep.
Dude, I appreciate the hell out of you for being on the show, because I know you're a busy guy and everything, so
My
sincerely
pleasure.
I sincerely appreciate you being on the show. Like, it was awesome.
And
And you taught me a
we'll
little bit
upset
about
the
the
internet. We'll upset the podcast world and really start making some waves.
Yeah. There we go. I love it. All right, well, it is yeah, we're going to come to a close, and I hope you and your fam stay well and stay safe, and be contributors to, ending this whole thing, this whole global situation going on.
Hear you. It's one step at a time. Just do the best you can every day.
Hell yeah. I agree 100%. So
Sweet.
keep on trucking with spreading the love of sustainability to your students and everyone. Hell yeah. And
You got it, brother.
hopefully we'll be able to catch a wave soon too.
Sounds great, Ted. I'm looking forward to our next event.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
Peace out, my brother.
You too. Stay safe. Be well.
Later. Bye-bye.
Later, everyone. Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching The Drink Sustainability. Warning. As you watch the show, be sure to clink at your own risk. Drinks may not appear the way that they seem.